So, today is a big day in our family. My daughter has her ballet recital, which we're super excited for. But before it gets another day, I decided I had better go ahead and do a big herb harvest. So I'm watering one garden. I'm about to water this garden here. But we have lots of things that are ready in the herb world to be harvested. So we have yarrow, we have California poppy. I'm out here looking for calendula, but because we redid this garden, my calendula is actually way less. Usually I have tons of it and it's all ready to go by now. So the only plant that I have in here right now that has a flower on it is this one that I found hidden in here. So we just have one little flower and it's not ready to open yet. So we're just gonna have to be patient for calendula. I do have a few more that I got from a friend and they should be producing here soon as well. So we will get calendula flowers, just not quite yet. This is some kale that flowered really early in the season. This is a last year's plant, so we will be saving this. I call it red Russian kale because, to be honest, that's the closest thing that it looks like. I got the seeds from someone several years ago, and this will pop up in my garden from time to time. So I realize that kale does cross-pollinate with itself, with different varieties, as well as other vegetables in the brassica family. So it may not be the most true to variety, but it does work pretty well for us. And I've had good success with this overwintering here and just doing really well. So I am going to collect the seeds from that guy. He's not hurting anything. We also today will be gathering, I'll also be gathering some of the St. John's wort. I think I'm going to make a tincture with it. I've never done that before. Just because we haven't needed it, but I am trying really hard to just stockpile medicines at this point. You know, it's better to make stuff and not need it and have it on hand and not need it than to need it and not have it. So that's kind of going to be our rule of thumb going forward here. So we'll be harvesting this. St. John's wort is one of the unique herbs that is used better fresh. So we will be making our St. John's wort oil, which I use in a lot of different pain salves, and we'll be using it in a fresh oil. So you just have to watch it that it doesn't mold. And then also we'll be tincturing it fresh as well. So we won't be drying the St. John's wort. While I'm sitting here, I thought I would teach you a little trick to know whether or not you actually have St. John's wort. There are quite a few other plants with yellow flowers that people confuse for St. John's wort. So there's two ways that I tell people that you know you've got the right thing. The first one is that if you make a salve or a herbal oil with it, you can tell by the color really quickly. It has this beautiful red color, and if you squeeze the buds or the flowers between your fingers pretty good, your fingers will turn red, and that is one way that you know you definitely have St. John's wort. The other way is if you hold the leaves up to the light. It has these little circles in the back of it. Some of them are black and they're little spots, and then some of them are actually transparent in the sunshine and you can see it, and it's really pretty. Well, you guys, we did indeed harvest a ton of herbs the other day. We harvested Feverfew and yarrow, comfrey, a couple of different kinds of mints, some oregano, and I don't even know, catnip. There's so many, lemon balm. We just went through the garden and really just harvested anything and everything that was ready to go, and I just kept harvesting until basically I harvested until it was too hot and the plants started drooping, which, I mean, you really don't want that. So I just harvested enough to fill our rack, which that was a coat hanger. While we were tying on the very last bundle of comfrey, the whole thing just snapped in half, which I've been using the same coat hanger for like, I don't know, 6 years or something. So it finally, under the pressure of all of this stuff here, it finally just couldn't hack it. So we found this piece of rebar. I rebent the loop up there to, that was the coat hanger, and I just bent it to make it stronger. And so we'll see how long this lasts. But unfortunately, this no longer will fit in my herb cupboard, which is where I usually dry these things. So it's literally right in the middle of our living room. But you know, whatever, that works. Today I am picking chamomile, and I learned something really interesting about chamomile, pineapple weed, and mayweed over the last week, and I thought I would share it with you guys. I have several different places in my garden where I have chamomile. Here's another one. And chamomile is one of those things that kind of has to be picked daily. You don't get a lot of it unless you have a kajillion plants. So I just harvest a little bit every morning. Even my kids like to come pick it. It smells nice. And it's pretty easy to pick. You just pick the little tops off, and that's what you're gonna put on a screen and dry it. So I have chamomile growing in my garden. I have another plant that's growing wild all over the farm, and then I have pineapple weed, which is primarily in my barnyard. And so I have to be careful where I pick the pineapple weed, but that's one of the reasons why I have the chamomile planted in the garden, is because animals aren't allowed in here, so I know it's clean and safe. When you're picking chamomile, you know you have chamomile because mostly the smell. It smells very sweet, almost fruity. It's reminiscent of pineapple. You'll notice here that first the flowers will be nice and closed like that. This isn't quite ready to be picked, but then they will completely open, and the day that they completely open, that's when they're ready to be picked. When they're a little bit past their prime and they're gonna get ready to start producing their seeds, they get this sort of ball shape here. You see the difference? So it's a little bit more flat. Well, this is another way you can tell if you've really got chamomile or not, is this big ball thing. The mayweed doesn't do this. It doesn't get this ball shape at all. And this is where the seeds are going to form, and then it will have thousands of little tiny seeds all over the place. So chamomile has some nice ferny foliage. You'll see that. And like I said, it has a very sweet smell. Most people know chamomile. When I found out that I had not just chamomile growing on our farm, but also pineapple weed as well as the mayweed, I was a little bit concerned about cross-pollination, and I was very relieved to find out that they do not cross, and you're safe to save the seeds from your chamomile. You're safe to grow it. They're not going to cross ever. They're totally different species, while they do look very similar. So I suggest, because there are so many different plants that look just like chamomile, we're talking about pineapple weed and Mayflower. Some people even confuse it for oxeye daisy, which is in full bloom right now. I have behind me here, I'll show it to you, Feverfew growing, and it even looks similar as well. This is the Feverfew. So at first glance, some people might say that this is chamomile. It does have a little bit of a similar leaf, and it also has a similar flower, but when you hold them side by side, they really don't look anything at all alike. And the foliage on this one looks completely different. So I always tell people, know before you pick. If you don't know what it is, leave it there, take a picture, take several pictures, make sure you get the flower, the leaf, the root if you need to, but I usually hesitate to pick things if I don't have to. And then go back home, and I like to get 3 positive IDs. So find a friend who forages for whatever it is you're looking for. Find a reliable book. Like, I take Patterson's Field Guide with me wherever I go. And also, you can do a Google search, but I warn you that not all Google searches are accurate. So I find it much better to have a person who knows what they're doing. Even a foraging group on Facebook is good, but definitely a field guide is my absolute favorite positive ID. And if I get all 3 sources that say the same thing, then I know I've got the right plant and I can pick it. So this weed growing behind me, you guys know me, I'm a crazy plant lady. I don't actually believe in weeds. I believe that weeds are any plant that is growing where you don't want it to grow. So to me, this is an herb. You can call it a weed if you want to, but this particular herb is called pineapple weed. I'll show it to you there. You can see these little kind of bumps there. That's what you're looking for. It grows pretty prolifically around here, especially in pasture areas. We've got this big patch, and then it's just kind of all over the driveway area, and that's kind of where you're gonna find it, is driveways and pastures, kind of disturbed sites and things like that. It does like a little bit of water, but it will still grow without that, without a significant amount of water. It just grows a little bit bigger, tastes a little bit better if it's been watered well, and we've had a lot of rain and a lot of water this year. So the way that you know you have pineapple weed is the leaves do look a little bit like chamomile here. You can see they're pretty ferny and feathery. But one of the main tells and why it's called pineapple weed is if you rub this a little bit, this tip here, and then you smell it, it smells like pineapple. It's reminiscent of pineapple. I don't actually think it tastes totally like pineapple, but some people think so. And if you look, like if you do a quick Pinterest search or Google search and type in uses for pineapple weed or recipes for pineapple weed, you'll see that a lot of people like to bake with it and use it in recipes alongside of pineapple. It just sort of helps boost up that pineapple-y kind of flavor. So even people will use it in pineapple upside down cake and all kinds of different recipes. So it just smells so good. So I thought I would teach you guys today something that I learned that's new. We had a kids herb walk here on our farm that my kids taught, and they had so much fun. And while we were learning about pineapple weed, I was harvesting some for some tea that we made, and I was also harvesting chamomile. And while I was going around our farm looking for chamomile, and which is primarily in the garden, and looking for pineapple weed, which is primarily out in the farmyard, I noticed a different plant growing. So right now, this area that I'm in, this was a pig pen last year, and even all the way through till about December time. So pigs are notorious for digging things up and doing a lot of damage to pasture areas, but I intentionally had pigs here 2 seasons ago, hoping, good morning, in order to dig out the weeds from here, and then I was going to reseed it. Well, we ended up raising a second batch of pigs in here that we had not planned on due to a really fun nighttime chase the pigs around the farm, but we had 6 pigs at that time, and where did they go? They came right back into this pen, which was honestly a blessing. That we, number 1, had it set up, number 2, that they remembered this is where they were babies at, and number 3, that they just walked right in and it wasn't a problem, and we just finished raising them about 3 more months in this pen. So the ground took a pretty big hit, and now you see all of these plants growing in here, and there's really not a ton of diversity. It's pretty much it's pretty much just a handful of different herbs that are growing. So this is the plant that I noticed when we were picking pineapple weed, and I was like, is this chamomile? Oh my gosh, we have a field of it, and we actually have another area where the pigs went through that is filled with the same thing. And I thought, wow, how can this be? Until I started picking the flowers, and smelling the flowers and realized these really stink. These do not smell good at all. So here's the flowers. They're the same size and almost the same shape as regular chamomile. They have a similar amount of petals. They still have the yellow center, all of the things. Even their ferny foliage looks pretty much the same as chamomile. It's a little bit darker, but really, the main thing you notice is that when you smell these, while it does sort of smell like chamomile, it stinks. And chamomile, when you rub it, same with the pineapple weed, it smells really good. So this herb is actually called mayweed, and you can use it. It has a lot of very similar properties as the chamomile does, but while chamomile and pineapple weed, those you can use basically the same way, mayweed, instead of being like a blood booster, is a blood cleanser. So this is not necessarily the best herb. Chamomile is known for being like one of those children's herbs. It's very, very gentle on the systems and on the body to use it, while also being a very strong and potent herb that does a good job for some really hard things. So Mayflower works a lot on the liver and works a lot on the blood in order to be able to clean it and cleanse it. So it's not necessarily what I would probably go for when I'm looking for a children's herb. Plus, it doesn't taste good, and chamomile tastes great. I thought I would just take a few minutes to catch you guys up to speed on what's been happening on our farm. I am sorry I missed you guys on Wednesday, and on Friday's video I wasn't able to post. I wasn't even able to film. I have a couple of things which I'll include in this video that I did get to film last week, but it's just been so crazy. My daughter had a amazing little ballet recital, so we took a whole day to be fun and do makeup and hair and do that. And then of course, because that was such a late night, we ended up needing a day of rest. And honestly, my top priority above the homestead, above the animals, above activities, and even doing YouTube or my regular Esther's Eden business, my family and especially my children, they come first. So if we ever disappear, for a time, it's probably because my kids need me. So also, we just have some things that really needed to be attended to on the farm. And behind me, you can see this gigantic pile of, let's just call it bedding, but you guys know what it is. We do deep litter style because it is so cold here. Our pastures really, on a really good year, we might get 2 growths or 2 cuttings, but that's a really good year. Usually you got 1 cut and you're done in the field and the pastures. And we don't actually have any major pasture here, especially not pasture that's safe for the animals. We have several different toxic weeds, or as I call them, herbs that are just not safe for animals. And we're working really hard to be able to clear out new pastures, build new pastures, and that's one of the reasons why we chose goats to start with, because they can consume those toxic things and generally be fine, especially if it's in smaller quantities. So we've just been working on moving different animals around. We've had pigs, we've had the ducks, we've had the chickens, and it's just a process. It just takes time, especially if you're not going to be doing it in the new modern ways. We're trying to just use the animal power. So it just takes time. It's okay. But anyway, the goat barn was looking pretty bad, and we had so much rain in the spring that the goat bedding was just honestly, it was too hard for me to move it. I could do it. I did 5 wheelbarrows, and I was just so tired after just 5 wheelbarrows, which I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of wheelbarrows of moving different things around.
May you please,
yes.
May you please?
There you go.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So, anyway, I knew that it was very, very wet, and the reason that it was wet was because the first half of the barn just took all of that sideways rain we were having. It was just coming down like crazy, and we even had one of our pens flood. So my husband made a deal with me, and he was so sweet, and he helped me this weekend to clean out the entire goat barn. And then because he was working so hard, and I'm the only one besides our children who fit in the rabbit barn, I decided to go ahead and take yesterday and get that cleaned out. So this is the result. What are we going to do with this? We're going to turn it into compost. It's going to go onto the garden beds. The great thing about goat manure and rabbit manure is that you can use it right away. It doesn't have to sit, and it acts as like a slow release fertilizer. So what I'm probably going to do with a lot of this is take it to those potatoes and those onions. We did find in different sections that hadn't gotten very wet. We found that it was loose and light, and just mostly the first half of the barn, like I thought, was just very, very saturated and smelly for sure. So that's not usually how our deep litter goes. Generally, we will clean out our wintertime deep litter in the spring and then get it fresh and ready for summer, and then the animals move out and are allowed to have more ground to cover. However, with the way that our breeding schedules for our rabbits went or didn't go very well, and then our goats having babies instead of 2 weeks apart had them just a day apart. So, things just didn't line out like normal. So anyway, I'm super excited to have that horrible job done. It's finished, and the goats have nice dirt floor now, and we'll just leave it that way. We'll probably just rake it up, and we're just going to bide our time and wait until the hay and the straw gets cut for the season. So first cutting is done here in North Idaho, and now we're waiting for the second cutting. So something that we are keeping an eye on right now is this goat right here. This is Birdie, and she should not be pregnant. She really should not be. We have that fence right there between our boys and our girls, and there are 3 fences there, and honestly it's like staggered, so the holes are really tiny, and there has never been a moment where these goats here have been in with the boys at all that I can tell. We do let these goats here, not the boys, because they have a big pen filled with wonderful things. You can see all the pasture stuff they've got over there. But these girls, since they have pretty much a bare yard here, they usually get let out daily just to go wander and eat pasture stuff, because we have all of that wonderful, you can see all that Timothy back there that they really love. So anyway, that being said, so I was really hoping to breed her this fall to our brand new buck ox, because I think they're going to make really pretty babies. She's turned out to be such a beautiful goat, and she's a good size. So I thought, okay, great, we'll keep her. We're still waiting on selling a couple of these goats. Like, these guys are waiting for their forever homes, and those sweet little babies that are asleep right there with Cape, they're waiting on their forever home. But anyway, so Maggie actually decided that she wanted to keep Birdie as her goat. And I said, great, we'll breed her this fall. We usually like to breed about November or very beginning of November to have mid-spring babies, and that works great on our farm. Well, she has started developing an udder. She should not be developing an udder. We're pretty sure she was in heat last month, so about 30 days ago or so. Maybe not quite that many. Hey, this little goat wants to say hi. Hi, Flopsy. However, and you can see it right there, she's got, I don't know, she definitely has a developing udder, and her stomach is definitely looking different than it did. So, and honestly, her behavior is changing a little bit. So I don't think she's going to have babies anytime soon. If it is, it's going to be at least a month. But even so, like, I don't know if this is normal. So anyway, we're just kind of watching her. We're waiting to see what happens. It could be a false pregnancy. That does happen in goats. but it's very unusual for them to start developing an udder from what I can find without actually being pregnant or having a false pregnancy. So we're just going to watch and wait. I don't know, guys. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with her. I really hope she's not pregnant, to be honest, because I want to breed her with Ox. And actually, I don't even know if it would be with Chico or if it would be with Ox. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Chico. He's kind of our main man and doesn't really let Ox near the girls, but you know, I just don't know. We're in a transition time in the garden here in North Idaho. We have so much blooming, so much going on. This is a beautiful larkspur that works great for cut flower. I have all of our Icelandic poppies are blooming. Our California poppies are blooming. Things are really just starting to go crazy, and I'm so happy. It makes me really excited. This is one of my favorite times. I call July the peak of the garden here, and it's really, you can come out here just about every single day and something new will be blooming or something new is ready to harvest. We've been harvesting currants like crazy. Our raspberries are just starting. Our strawberries are just ending for the season. I'm hoping at some point here we will have a continual harvest of strawberries here on our farm. It's just been a little bit tough getting them going and keeping them going with all the different challenges we face here, but we've had so much going on. Things are crazy. We're watering like crazy right now. Just different patches that are drying out. We are harvesting a lot of herbs right now. The veggies are really, like the salad greens and things are kind of ending and transitioning, and we're moving into beans and peas and different things like that. And of course, we're trying to enjoy our very limited summer here by taking the kids to the beach and camping and doing all sorts of things. So it's kind of hard to keep up at this point. We're also, you know, milking the goats every single morning and collecting eggs every day. So things are a little bit crazy. This is one of my favorite times because right now, as I sit in the garden, don't hate me for saying this, but I have to sit here and just soak it in because I know that rainy, cold, possibly snow, it could be coming in just a few short, I can't even say months, like we've had snow on September 20th here before. So, you know, you just have to enjoy it and take the time to enjoy it and harvest as much as you can, eat fresh as much as you can when you have it, and really just know that time is short and time is always fading. And just like these beautiful flowers that only last 1 or 2 days, they're already, you know, turning to seeds. And so I just try really hard to be out here and enjoy it with my kids and enjoy it for myself, and know that it's not just about the work. You have to take the time to stop and literally smell the roses. I want to show you before I let you go here. We do have lots of fun things coming up. I'm going to be filming all week this week, and I have a whole bunch of things. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about chamomile, pineapple weed, and Mayflower today. I'm super excited to dry this up, and I know that I will remember this moment every time I make that wonderful steaming cup of chamomile tea in the winter time. It will take me right back to this place of the garden. Before I let you guys go, I have to show you something. I am so excited. Oh, and I just see something else. Oh, I'm excited. I have a couple things to show you before I let you go. I have been trying to get this particular plant to grow from seed for a long time, and I finally have succeeded, and you get to see my very first black swan poppy. Now you may wonder, why am I so excited? Well, first of all, just take a look at that color. Isn't it amazing? That's the first reason, but the second reason is this is an edible seeded poppy, which means we can use our own fresh seeds from these poppies in baking. Something I will have to do is find out whether or not my Icelandic poppies and these other poppies are going to cross-pollinate. I'm not sure if the California poppies will cross-pollinate. I'll have to look into that a little bit, but I am really excited. So I'll let you guys know what I find out on that. I haven't looked into that quite yet. Here's something I'm so excited about. These are the raspberries we planted together such a long time ago, it feels like. And they are ready. Oh my gosh. They're so good. I love strawberries, but I think raspberries are probably my favorite. Shh, don't tell my kids. They'll eat them all. At least we're gonna get a harvest. Right now, they should bloom again, but usually that's the iffy harvest. I don't know if we'll get that or not because it frosts them out before we get anything off of them. But if I get a harvest every early summer, I'm gonna be fine with that. That's great. And the last thing I want to show you before I take off. What? Show them your garden? Oh, Ben wants to show you his garden too. Okay, just a second. This is our very first sunflower of the season. It's kind of bittersweet for me. The first sunflower.
I eat a sunflower seed.
Oh, there are no seeds yet, sweetie. So the first sunflower of the season is a little bit bittersweet because honestly it marks the beginning of the end of the garden. And that's so hard. Oh, I see another one. Oh, I'll show you. Oh, today must be sunflower day. I think my garden knows that I'm gonna go see my mother-in-law and she loves sunflowers. They're her favorite. So I think we'll probably pick these and make her a beautiful bouquet to take to our dinner later. And I think you can see back there, I have the black-eyed Susans. They've been blooming for a few days now, so they're so beautiful. It makes me so happy, but a little bit sad. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Ben wants to show you his garden.
So this is me, and so I would love to show you around. This is my garden that I'm in, and look at this good rounded dirt. And so I fed it. So I need to water it. This is my garden, all right here, this whole entire square. Look at my potatoes. We're getting one right now. We're getting a couple. I got potatoes. Everything is doing great. I love my potatoes. I can't wait to taste them. And these are my sunflowers are blooming, my first ones, and I'm getting a lot of them bloom. But these ones got ants on it that are eating, and so these are poppies. I got a cactus, which is doing fine, and strawberries. If you would love mine and Mom's channel, just hit that little subscribe button down below, and we'll see you on the next channel. Bye.
All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out today. I hope you enjoyed our little update and our garden tours. And we got a lot going on the farm. Stay tuned, hang on tight, and we'll take you along for lots more fun stuff happening. And we'll probably have some harvest videos coming up and another garden tour soon. And we're really excited to take you along and show you the chicks that we have just put into the incubator a few days ago. We'll be candling them, so stay tuned for that video. I think it'll probably come out on this Wednesday. We'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for joining us today.
See ya.